like to call to order the Clearwater City Council meeting for June the 5th. Appreciate everybody being here. Our invocation this evening will be led by Councilmember Cundiff, and our Pledge of Allegiance will be given by Mr. Hamilton.
Shall we stand? Father, we thank you that we can come to you in public prayer and that you hear. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let me remind you, if you have a cell phone or other device that goes off, to please silence it or put it on vibrate. And we will be able to conduct our meetings with decorum. To my extreme right is our Assistant City Manager, Michael Maxwell, City Manager Bill Horn.
Good evening.
Councilmember Bob Cundiff.
Hi, folks.
And Councilmember Jay Poglaze.
Good evening.
To my left, Councilmember David Albritton.
Good evening.
Councilmember Hoyt Hamilton.
Good evening.
Our City Attorney Pam Aiken.
Good evening.
And filling in for our City Clerk, our Deputy City Clerk? Okay, for today only, Nicole Sprague.
Hello.
Our first order of business is to recognize our police volunteers. I would like to call forward the volunteers who are here and Chief Slaughter.
Production of our very generous volunteers. Clearwater Police Department has a total of 36 active volunteers. Last year, they provided 10,795 hours of service. This production of hours included the ability for us to recognize through the Presidential Award Program. Our volunteers, 17 of them received the Bronze Award, 6 of them the Silver, and 6 of them the Gold. That value of the volunteer hours that they produced comes to a number of $299,874. We recognize that we want to try to make sure we break 300,000 next year, but our volunteers would like to present the city with a check that represents the value of their service. And I personally just want to say thank you to them. They allow us to keep a very high level of service that we would not be able to do without their help. You're not supposed to block your faces. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. We had a banquet to recognize y'all and when y'all formally presented that check, but we wanted y'all to come here so that the entire city could learn of the efforts that y'all put out every day for us, and we just wanted to say thank you on behalf of not only the council, but really all of our citizens. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Please come forward so that we can thank y'all personally.
Thank you so much.
Well done.
Watch your step here, people.
Well done.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want you to break your
Yeah, well, watch your step there.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for everything you do.
Thank you so
Okay,
much.
watch your step there.
Careful.
Okay. Thanks. I know. Watch your step. Watch your step. I'm gonna hold on until you pass the crock across. Yeah, no, that's why I hold on. Okay, you're gonna take me with you. Okay, thanks. Thank you very much.
Thanks for everything.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Congratulations. Thank you so much.
Chief, why don't you tell, when you finish thanking them also, just tell us briefly if somebody wants to become a police volunteer, what's required and how they would do that.
Well, Sean Haley here is our organizer of our volunteer program, and there is a application process online, and they just need to contact Sean Haley through his email address, which would be Sean, SEAN .Haley, HAILEY at myclearwater.com, and we'll be more than happy to set them up and get them trained and get them on the road.
Okay, and they can volunteer, it's not 40 hours a week, it's,
No, we try to work around what other people's capacity is. Some have worked multiple hours throughout the week, and some do up to 40, but some of them do 8 hours every couple weeks. And we have a variety of opportunities for them. Much of it is patrol, directing traffic, and helping with some of those ancillary duties that doesn't require police officers. Other duties, they involve community events and supporting those events and doing interactive stuff that we do with children at our special events. Some of it is walking and driving down Clearwater Beach, making sure people understand our ordinances and that alcohol is not allowed, and some of the other scenarios that we want to make sure we educate the public on. So we have a variety of duties. We have clerical support positions as well. So we can fit anybody, whatever capacity they have that they want to give, we can make it work.
Thank you. Thanks again. Chief, why don't you stay up here, because the next person is somebody that's going to become part of your department if my notes are correct. Council, as you'll know, we are a Coast Guard city. We are the only Coast Guard city in Florida. And we're indeed fortunate that a member of the Coast Guard has been selected as the enlisted person of the year for the entire Coast Guard all over the country. He's been stationed at Port Canaveral, but he's getting ready to retire. I know that one of the things that he says is that he would not have received this award if it wasn't for his crew and the people that work with him. But we know that he's got a very special talent. We're excited that he's going to become a member of our police department. And his wife, Chloe, I believe, is here. And I'd like to bring forward, please, Bosun Mate Second Class Jake Blass. We were going to blow you aboard, but Councilmember Cundiff said that the tape that he had was 8 minutes long, and we I'm sorry, you only get 3 minutes.
Well, Mayor, thank you. I would like to just say that he's a very marketable candidate. We're very fortunate that he chose Clearwater, and we think that he's going to be a wonderful addition to our team. His experience in the military, but also just the leadership he's demonstrated at an early part of his career is going to be something that this city will get a lot of value of for the next 20 to 25 years. He doesn't become a free agent till late in September or mid-September, so that's when we expect to get him officially on the payroll. But we look forward to having Jacob on the board.
Very good.
Welcome aboard. Thank you, Chief.
Go ahead and say.
Yeah,
Did you
no, I would love to. You know, it's one of those things where when I was selected, it was astonishing because everybody sees what the Coast Guard does and the news and the daily, and I follow their Facebook pages. And so when I got the phone call from the head of the enlisted force, I was actually at TAPS class in McDale. He's like, "Are you getting out?" I was like, "I am, Master Chief, but I'm looking forward to continue to serve the Coast Guard and the reserves." But you know, it's the search and rescue cases we do, the submarine escorts, cruise escorts, all that kind of stuff is not a one-man job. It's really indicative of the amazing people that I work with, and my senior leadership who allows me to go out and, hey, I want to go volunteer in the schools, and I'm working on my master's in psychology right now. And you realize, I just took a developmental psychology course. You realize how important, getting out in the community and making a difference in their lives, and just trying to, teach them, hey, this is what you do, this is maybe what you shouldn't do, and stuff like that. And that's something I look forward to utilizing in my service to the Clearwater Police Department, which I am honored to have been selected to work for. So again, I love the Coast Guard. I love what they do. It was really an honor to be selected. And again, thank you for the recognition tonight, and Chief, and thank you all for being here. So
Very good. We'll look forward to being able to swear you in as an officer in the near future.
yes.
Please come so that we can all at least shake your hand.
Thank you for that.
Congratulations.
Jake, and I couldn't be more honored to have my daughter's best friend select you as her husband. The city of Clearwater couldn't be more honored to have you be a resident of Clearwater, and I'm glad you chose here. And I wanted to give this to you. When we first sought to become a Coast Guard city, we had medallions made. This was my medallion, Clearwater Coast Guard City, and we celebrated our centennial a few years ago, so it's not much, but just a little token.
Awesome.
Thank you,
so
sir.
much. Thank you.
Again, congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Council, an event that has grown over the years and has become very successful in promoting Clearwater and really all of Pinellas County is the Sugar Sand Festival. And we have Steve and Lisa Chandler here to give us a brief update on this year's festival.
Good evening, Mayor, Councilman. My name is Lisa Chandler. I'm here with my husband, Steve, and Angela Vamaka to give you a recap of the 7th annual Pier 60 Sugar Sand Festival presented by Visit St. Petersburg, Clearwater. As you are well aware, this year, due to the Easter holiday, we decided to expand the festival to 17 days. Some people thought that we had kind of lost our marbles in going from 10 to 17. But the good news is, after all was said and done, we definitely declared it a success. Easter Sunday, believe it or not, was one of the busiest of the 3 days out of the 17-day run. A little more highlights for this year. We did expand to 17 days. The number of visitors to the Sugar Sand Walk exhibit last year, during 9 of the 10 days, because we had a closure last year, we had 45,000 visitors to the Sugar Sand Walk exhibit last year. This year we had over 70,000 visitors who came to the Sugar Sand Walk exhibit. The estimated overall attendance for the 17 days was 200,000 visitors to Clearwater Beach. There were many free activities that took place. We had 9 nights of free concerts. One of the wow factor things this year, as you came over the bridge, was the Ferris wheel, and that was a huge hit, not only with the locals, the people who visited here, but also the media as well. As far as the educational partnership we have with Pinellas County Schools, this year we hosted 1,173 elementary school students, kindergarten through 5th grade. As part of our fundraising efforts, the Master Sand Sculpting Competition, we added a second Title I school to the lineup this year. On years past, we have hosted Sandy Lane Elementary. This year we added Eisenhower Elementary, and we're excited to announce that we raised $12,000 that will be split between the 2 schools. This year we also hosted, with the 17 days, our largest amount of volunteers. We had over 900 volunteers over the 17 days. We had assistance from both PSTA, the Jolly Trolley, and the Clearwater Ferry in transporting all of our volunteers to and from the beach. Another highlight for this year, which was a surprise, we negotiated an agreement with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and for the first time, they did the NFL draft pick live on Clearwater Beach. It was aired on national television on 3 different stations. If you missed it, we built a huge sand sculpture. They had the cheerleaders, the street team, and of course, on the 3rd day of the draft pick, they announced the Buccaneers' 3rd roll from Clearwater Beach with the iconic Pier 60 in the background. In addition to that, at this time, I was just going to have Angela pass out. This just came to us recently. We hosted many journalists over the 17 days. This is actually a copy, and it just goes a testament to the reach of what Sugar Sand. Sugar Sand is not only loved by the locals, but people are planning their vacations specifically around the dates. What you have in front of you is, it's actually it's a replica of the newspaper, the actual size from China, and that is the Tsingtao Daily News. That is an article that was published on April 28th. And that is just one of many examples of our reach. This year we also did some partnerships in Brazil and Latin America. The goal for anyone who's watching has been from day one to create an annual destination event that showcases what we consider to be Clearwater's 2 most valuable assets, and that is our world-famous sugar sands and sunsets. Obviously, this evening, we're here to thank the city. There are so many different departments within the city. I'll start by briefly just thanking all of the departments, but I would also like to personally just highlight a few key people that are truly a huge part of the success, in addition to our sponsors, volunteers, community partners. And I'll start off with the most obvious, and that is our Parks and Recreation staff, specifically Chris, Yanni, and Lilia, all of the city electricians, the recycling department, Sheridan, another person who came out. She was actually part of our curriculum this year with the students in teaching them about the importance of not only recycling, but why it's important to keep our beaches clean. In addition to that, all of the parking attendants. That's probably one of the most difficult jobs out on that beach, especially during the spring break season. And those are folks that you rarely hear about, but we'd like to thank them as well, along with Sue, who works in the parking department. 3 people that rarely you hear about, but are truly the backbone of what we do out there for this event, are Chad, Dale, and Mike. And those are the 3 gentlemen that are responsible for moving 1,000 tons of sand, not only to compile inside the Sugar Sand Walk exhibit, but also the breakdown. If you were out there this year post-event, typically that process takes a minimum of, it takes them about a week to compile all the sand, and it usually takes about a week to put it all back. Remarkably, they cleared the sand in less than 3 days. A lot of hard work and dedication. Clearwater Gas, Jason and Michelle, obviously the police and fire department, and last but not least is Jason with the public communications department. He is the person who we work with directly, who helped secure the media. I will tell you that over the course, this project, Steve and I and our family, it was a 32-day project from start to finish. And within that time frame, I think I clocked in maybe 42 live interviews, not only from the local TV stations, but we also had some other stations coming. And as you know, with the media and journalists that come to visit, while they might have covered the event during the event, you typically will not see the return on investment until a couple months later. Some of the articles will probably publish in December, some maybe in January. But at this time, I'd like to answer any questions you may have before we present you with our annual gift.
Thank you.
That's it? Yep. So on behalf of the Sunsets at Pier 60 Society, which is the 501c3 that puts on the Pier 60 Sugar Sand Festival, Steve, myself, Angela, all the volunteers, sponsors, we'd like to thank the City of Clearwater and present you with another piece of wall art. And this is Rio de Janeiro. It was one of the highlights and probably one of the most photographed sculptures in the 21,000 square foot exhibit.
Thank you.
Sorry, cut in front of you. Whoa.
Thanks for letting me do.
Great
job, Lisa.
Thanks.
Great job. Definitely. Great. Thanks.
Oh, just leave it there, that's fine. Before y'all leave, Mr. Chandler? Mr. Chandler? Y'all were gracious enough to thank everybody who works with y'all, but we know that y'all put in an awful lot of time. And if it wasn't for the 2 of you, we wouldn't even have the Sugar Sand Festival. So on behalf of the City of Clearwater, we want to present y'all with a key to the city in appreciation for your ingenuity, determination, and enthusiasm bringing the Sugar Sand Festival to Clearwater and Pinellas County. Thank y'all very much.
You want to say something? Because I'm a little speechless.
We're past our 3 minutes.
Oh,
so-
our 3 minutes is up? Thank you.
It doesn't work for that other building anymore.
No? Thank you. We're humbled. Thank you very much.
Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Council, we were also hoping to have with us today Cavalry Christian Warriors, who won for the 2nd year the state baseball championship. Unfortunately, school is out. the kids had, the players had already dispersed. So we're hoping that maybe at the start of the next school year and with the baseball season, that we'll be able to not only recognize them, but a chance to hold the trophy. But anyway, on behalf of all of us, thank you and congratulations to Calvary. In the last 3 years, they've won that championship twice, and 2 of their players were drafted in the Major League Baseball draft that just concluded or is in the process of going on. 2 of them have already been drafted. So good job, Warriors. Are there any addition or corrections to the minutes of May the 16th?
Move to be approved.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the minutes of May the 16th. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Anybody from the public wishing to speak to an item that is not on the agenda? If so, please come forward at this time. Make sure that our clerk has a card filled out for you. Give us your name and you will have 3 minutes to speak.
Good evening, Darrell Henderson, Clearwater Regional Chamber. First of all, thank you all for your service to our community. Have a special guest I'd like to introduce you to tonight. He is David Green. He is the Executive Director of the Tampa Bay Area Regional Transit Authority, TBARTA. He comes to TBARTA, he's been there about 9 months now, I guess? 7 months? Comes to us from the Greater Richmond Transit System, where he was there for about 19 years. And one thing I just learned this evening, 4 days ago, he retired from the United States Army Reserve as a colonel. But most importantly, Mr. David Green is one of the newest residents of our fine city. About 3 weeks ago, he moved into a condo out on Sand Key. So I wanted to bring him before you and introduce him. David, if you would like to say hi to council.
Thanks, Darrell. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
I appreciate Darrell inviting me here tonight. He's been a great colleague and done a wonderful job keeping me pointed in the right direction since I first met him about 7 months ago when I relocated from Virginia. As he said, I came from Richmond, where I spent the majority of my life and worked for almost 20 years at the transit company up there, last 5 years of which were as the chief executive officer. And one of the big projects that we implemented prior to me leaving was a BRT project, which we took quite a bit of time planning. It operates along Broad Street through the heart of downtown Richmond, most heavily traveled corridor in the city. We cut the ribbon on that service last June, so it's coming up on its 1-year anniversary. But have been with TBARTA for about 7 months. Not sure what you all know of TBARTA. It's probably a little different than the TBARTA you may remember. It was created back in 2007 by the Florida legislature as a regional transportation authority, and they reshaped it about 2 years ago to focus specifically on transit and developing a regional transit network. A couple of big projects that we're working on now are a regional transit development plan, the first such plan for Tampa Bay. There are other TDPs that are completed by individual transit companies throughout each respective county, but they are county specific. So this will be the first such plan of a regional nature, and we're really excited about that. The other big project we're working on is a regional BRT project, which will connect Wesley Chapel and Pasco to downtown St. Petersburg, and that will operate along the Interstate 275 corridor. And we're currently in the PD&E phase of that. We awarded a contract just a couple months ago, and over the next 2 years, we'll complete all the environmental work that'll be required to get us into final design and construction. But as Darrell indicated, the main reason I wanted to come by and introduce myself is because I just recently planted roots in Clearwater. I'm ecstatic to be in Tampa Bay, but even more excited to be in Clearwater. And I look forward to being an active member of the community, and both personally and professionally, and working with you all. So
Thank you very
thanks
much.
for allowing me to be here tonight.
Great. Please come on, let's say hello up close in person.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure.
You too.
Same
Welcome.
here. Thank you.
Good to see you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Where do you live on Sand Key?
Green?
Oh, okay, I'm in Crescent Beach.
Gotcha.
Okay, watch your step.
Yeah. I'd like to talk to you about the projects. Definitely, yeah, I'd be happy to. Okay. Okay. Welcome to the area. Thank you, I appreciate it. Forward to working with you. I do.
Council, the consent agenda is items 7.1 through 7.3. Anybody from council or the public wishing to pull an item off the consent agenda, items 7.1 through 7.3?
Move approval of the,
I apologize. Would you please come forward? Does the clerk have a card filled out?
You know me very well, sir.
Sir, the question is, do you have a card that's filled out?
I'm sure I do.
No. Did you fill one out this evening?
No, I did not.
Then fill one out, and then you can speak, sir.
Bring it.
You can go to the clerk, sir, that like everybody else.
I suspect you wanted to skip over hearing from me.
I apologize, sir. I did not realize that you wanted to speak.
Mr. Polglaze,
Sir,
Mr. Haluba, if you're going to do a personal attack, you're not going to do it.
no, I can do that.
No, sir, you're not going to do that. We have rules of decorum.
I'm not going to do a personal attack. I'm just going to reiterate what you all know about. And I'm allowed to do that.
If you check
I
our...
have, Colonel Horn saying, I have my First Amendment rights. Got Daniel Slaughter back there who made a big deal about that on a
But
video.
I'm in charge of the meeting,
I didn't say you weren't.
and it says that if we conduct ourselves in an orderly fashion without personal attacks.
What personal attack?
I'm just warning you, sir.
You're trying to shut me down because you know you've got a problem with your phone and public records requests, and certainly Mr. Polglaze violated the law. That's why you're trying to shut me down.
No, sir, I'm not.
Okay, so you are going to give me my 3 minutes or
You can-
not?
Go ahead. You're just warned.
Mr. Polglaze, you're an incredible person.
thank you. I take that as a compliment.
I don't know, I'm not done. You're sitting on a city council for the second time, and yet you haven't been elected. You ran unopposed originally, so I guess all you really had to do was vote for yourself. And when there was an election, you were defeated. And there were many, many, many people this last time when we had a resignation that were ready to fill that seat. It would have added to diversity on the council. It would have added some credibility to the council. But you apparently, felt it necessary again to insert yourself, and, you were successful. Not everybody's happy about it. I certainly am not. For somebody to be sitting on this city council who has never been elected for the second time is outrageous. Personal things aside, you made a huge mistake sending me an email from your personal email. That's against the law, sir. It's a violation of the Open Records Act. It's a violation of government in the sunshine. And then I get an email from the mayor saying, oh, he apologized at the work session. I didn't hear those words. You looked rather disheveled, like you got caught doing something you shouldn't be doing, and with good reason. It's exactly what happened. So you can apologize, you can say it was a mistake. I received an email from the mayor today saying that if I feel like you did that on purpose, that I should go to the state attorney. Well, Mr. Mayor, it doesn't matter if it's on purpose or not. A violation of the law, by ignorance is no less of a violation of the law. And that's what we're dealing with here. And so I really think that you should resign. I really believe that you should resign. In my mind's eye, you really have no legitimate business sitting in that chair.
Just 3 minutes, Rob.
Don't engage him. It's not gonna. Anybody else from the public wishing to speak to an item that is not on the agenda? If not, I will close public comment and move to the consent agenda items 7.1 through 7.3. Anybody from the public or council wishing to pull an item off the consent agenda items 7.1 through 7.3?
Move approval of the consent agenda, items 7.1 through 7.3.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to approve the consent agenda items 7.1 through 7.3. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed,
Aye.
no. Motion carries unanimously. We don't have any administrative public hearings today, so we will move forward to agenda item 9.1. Ms. Aiken.
Ordinance number 9248-19, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending Section 2.251 Clearwater Code of Ordinances, changing the composition of Sister Cities Advisory Board to include a representative from the Clearwater Arts Alliance, Inc., providing an effective date.
Move to adopt ordinance 9248-19 on second reading.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 9248-19 on second reading. Anybody from the public to speak to this motion? Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 9.2, Ms. Sprague.
An ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, annexing certain real property located generally north of Drew Street, south of State Road 590, and within a quarter-mile west of North McMullen Booth Road, whose post office address is 3019 Lake Vista Drive, within Clearwater, Florida 33759, into the corporate limits of the city, and redefining the boundary lines of the city to include said additions, providing an effective date.
Move to adopt ordinance 9268-19 on second reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 9268-19 on second reading. Anybody from the public to speak to this motion? Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 9.3, Ms. Aiken.
Ordinance number 9269-19, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the future land use element of the comprehensive plan of the city to designate the land use for certain real property located generally north of Drew Street, south of State Road 590, and within 1/4 mile west of North McMullen Booth Road, whose post office address is 3019 Lake Vista Drive, within Clearwater, Florida 33759, upon annexation into the City of Clearwater as residential low, RL, providing an effective date.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt ordinance 9269-19 on second reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 9269-19 on second reading. Anybody from the public to speak to this motion? Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 9.4, Ms. Sprague.
An ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the zoning outlets of the city by zoning certain real property located generally north of Drew Street, south of State Road 590, and within a 1/4 mile west of North McMullen Booth Road, whose post office address is 3019 Lake Vista Drive, within Clearwater, Florida 33759, upon annexation into the City of Clearwater as low-medium density residential, LMDR, providing an effective date.
Move that we adopt ordinance 9270-19 on second reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 9270-19 on second reading. Anybody from the public to speak to this motion? Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 9.5, Ms. Aiken.
Ordinance number 9271-19, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, annexing certain real property located generally on the west side of Norwood Avenue, approximately 400 feet north of Lakeview Road, whose post office address is 1204 Norwood Avenue, Clearwater, Florida 33756, into the corporate limits of the city, and redefining the boundary lines of the city to include said additions, providing an effective date.
I move to adopt ordinance 9271-19 on second reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 9271-19 on second reading. Anybody from the public speak to this motion? Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 9.6, Ms. Sprague.
An ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the future land use element of the comprehensive plan of the city to designate the land use for certain real property located generally on the west side of Norwood Avenue, approximately 400 feet north of Lakeview Road, whose post office address is 1204 Norwood Avenue, Clearwater, Florida 33756, upon annexation into the City of Clearwater as residential low RL, providing an effective date.
I would move to adopt ordinance 9272-19 on second reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 9272-19 on second reading. Anybody from the public speak to this motion? Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 9.7, Ms. Aiken.
Ordinance number 9273-19, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater...
73, isn't it?
I'm sorry, 73-19, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the zoning atlas of the city by zoning certain real property located generally on the west side of Norwood Avenue, approximately 400 feet north of Lakeview Road, whose post office address is 1209 and Norwood Avenue, Clearwater, Florida 33756, upon annexation into the City of Clearwater as low-medium density residential, LMDR, providing an effective date.
Move to adopt ordinance 9273-19 on second reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 9273-19, and the proper address is 1204. Ms. Aiken?
Ordinance number 9274-19.
No, 73.
We just did
The
70.
number, no, we haven't voted on it yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're questioning, we thought you said 1209, and we're just double checking that it's 1204.
It is 1204.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 9273-19 on second reading. Nobody from the public was speaking. Any other comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 9.8. Are you doing this one, Ms. Aiken, or is...
An ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, annexing certain real properties located generally north of Drew Street, south of State Road 590, and within 1/4 mile west of North McMullen Booth Road, whose post office addresses are 3040 Grandview Avenue and 3057 Terrace View Lane, all within Clearwater, Florida 33759, into the corporate limits of the city, and redefining the boundary lines of the city to include said additions, providing an effective date.
I move that we adopt ordinance 9274-19 on second reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 9274-19 on second reading. Anybody from the public to speak to this motion? Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 9.9, Ms. Aiken.
Ordinance number 9275-19, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the future land use element of the comprehensive plan of the city to designate the land use for certain real properties located generally north of Drew Street, south of State Road 590, and within 1/4 mile west of North McMullen Booth Road. Whose post office addresses are 3040 Grandview Avenue and 3057 Terrace View Lane, all within Clearwater, Florida 33759, upon annexation into the City of Clearwater as residential low RL, providing an effective date.
I move to adopt ordinance 9275-19 on second reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 9275-19 on second reading. Anybody from the public to speak to this motion? Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 9.10, Ms. Sprague.
An ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, amending the zoning atlas of the city by zoning certain real properties located generally north of Drew Street, south of State Road 590, and within 1/4 mile west of North McMullen Booth Road, whose post office addresses are 3040 Grandview Avenue and 3057 Terrace View Lane, all within Clearwater, Florida 33759, upon annexation into the City of Clearwater as low-medium density residential, LMDR, providing an effective date.
I would move to adopt ordinance 9276-19 on second reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 9276-19 on second reading. Anybody from the public to speak to this motion? Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 9.11, Ms. Aiken.
Ordinance number 9278-19, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, relating to the City of Clearwater Police Officers Supplementary Pension Trust Fund, further amending Chapter 2, Administration, Article 5, Employee Benefits, Division 5, Police Officers Pension Plan, Subdivision 2, Supplementary Pension and Retirement Plan, and subsequently amended, amending Section 2.480.2, miscellaneous provisions, providing an effective date.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt ordinance 9278-19 on second reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adopt ordinance 9278-19 on second reading. Anybody from the public speak to this motion? Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Agenda item 10.1, Mr. Horn.
Thank you, Mayor. Impose a temporary moratorium within the city of Clearwater for a period of 180 days on the use or offering for hire of motorized scooters and micro-mobility devices, or issuance of any permits or franchises pertaining to micro-mobility hubs, and pass ordinance 9296-19 on first reading. Mr. Harper.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Here to answer some questions, but also would like to clarify a couple items that have come to my attention over the past 2 days. This program, this moratorium, is being enacted so we can basically create the regulations in place for the operators, the businesses for electronic scooters, and the use on our streets and sidewalks. One of the things that's been brought to my attention, people talk about, oh, Clearwater, Tampa's got theirs going on, and St. Petersburg is studying, and a few, couple dozen towns, cities throughout the state have programs in place. They have already regulated. So when this state legislation will be passed, we expect, then those regulations are already in place that are allowed for by the state legislation. On the other hand, what we're doing in this city is we're basically ahead of the curve for the dozens, if not hundreds, of other cities that are facing the same dilemma. And I just wanted to point out that, this is something that we are stepping forward at the most opportune moment, the first moment that we have had to look at the state legislation, and we are moving forward quickly to produce those regulations that are necessary to propose to you, the council, whether or not we want a program and what that program should look like. So I just wanted to reiterate that we are definitely, the city of Clearwater is out front on this issue.
Questions, Mr. Kunda?
If you happen to finish these regulations that you're working on in 90 days rather than 180 days, would you come to us and say, look, we're all finished with it, let's adopt these regulations?
Well, if we were done in 90 days, my vision and what I believe the city manager would like, we want to get your direction on this. We don't want to come to you and cross the T's, dot the I's at the end, and then have you evaluate it. We would like to perhaps come back and show you where we're headed, what the difference is, because it's not, again, it's not one plan fits all places. And we want your input and guidance on where we want to locate things. It'll give you options as speed and also pilot program or full implementation. There are a variety of issues that we need your guidance on. So coming back in a short amount of time, or a shorter amount of time than the 180 days, I would suggest is a good idea to get your guidance and then create the program that you desire for the city.
Thank you.
Mr. Poglace.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm really happy to hear that the legislature is going to allow us to have home rule on this issue. Because just hearing a few stories, people that have been out of town where they haven't acted this, it's the unintended consequences. Well-meaning legislators want to be pro-business. But everything from police to safety, enforcement, DUIs, where can they go? How fast do you put a governor on these things? Is it even comfortable to be in the same pathways, bicycle paths with pedestrians, and now you have a motorized vehicle? There are so many different departments and insurance regulations and everything else. I suspect at the end of the day, at least right now, I haven't been convinced. I look at this as a fact-finding timeframe to see what everybody else is doing, if it's even worked in other places, and if they've actually backtracked and said, well, wait a minute, this has now turned out to be something that is way too dangerous and it's not good for our tourism industry. So we've got another request for something that involves alcohol on this big bicycle thing, but the guy driving is not. That may be a different story, but this, I don't see how we regulate it. I'm not really convinced on this one.
Well, that's the type of information we'll bring back, case studies showing different types of regulations and the issues that have arisen in different places under those differing regulations.
Right.
And come back, not only with guidance, but also with a proposed program that staff believes would work if you would like it to proceed.
Mr. Hamilton?
Well, I mean, I'm very comfortable with the 180 days, being that, Tampa is just now getting started on theirs. Gives us a chance to kind of watch what they're doing and communicate with Tampa, and kind of as the 180 days gets closer to, the end of the 180 days, we can start, asking them questions like, if you could start it over, what would you do differently? What are some of the issues you've run into? What are some of the changes you're looking to make in what you're doing and how you're doing it? That kind of thing. I mean, I just look at it, out on, in downtown Clearwater, we're trying to promote sidewalk cafe type dining. I mean, what if, I can see somebody on one of these scooters coming through where the sidewalk cafe is while a server's walking out with a tray full of food. We got a problem. Same thing could happen if it were out on the beach, and just the sheer number of people out on the beach and the small sidewalks, it's really the Clearwater Beach is a whole different animal. I think the 180 days is a wise move. Ultimately, I don't know if it's going to even be something that works well for our community, but we'll have to wait and see. So,
Mr. Albritton?
Well, as I said in the work session, I'm the rep on the board, rep for the MPO, and multimodal is the big buzzword nowadays, and we're all looking forward to all these new ways of getting around from here to there. The big thing that I have a concern with, number one thing, is safety. And, I'd be looking at, I think staff will be good to look at this and give us recommendation on geofencing and also governing of speeds. If, instead of having something going 25 miles an hour, maybe it'd be less to keep the safety issue number one factor. But I think I'm looking forward to having staff look at this and make recommendations to us, and we can work it out and get the best scenario for our citizens here.
I think I'm hearing questions in all this. I'm not sure.
I'm giving him advice on what he should be looking at.
Well, that would come later. That would come later under comments. Okay. So any other questions?
No.
Okay, let me ask a question, because I did receive a communication, and I think I know the answer. I know that staff, and I had spoken with the city attorney about this, council. It was recommended that we not pass a moratorium, that we just don't do anything, but let people know that we're not going to allow these businesses to get started. And the city attorney, advised that she thinks it would be better if we pass this. And the thing that's got me concerned, and help me out to make sure that I'm understanding it correctly, we have in our packet here that it says House Bill 453 would allow their use in sidewalks and roads the same as bicycles unless the city develops specific regulations. So if we don't develop any regulations between now and 180 days, somebody could in effect come to us and say, we want to start up this business, and we don't have any regulations to give them.
That's correct.
And so they could conceivably operate wherever they wanted to.
That's correct.
Yeah, and so that's why I think this moratorium will give us an opportunity to, study the issue a little bit more, address the safety concerns, in what areas of the community we would want this. I understand from the multimodal end of it, but isn't that more in an area? It's not for tourists to use, but rather for people to get from their apartments to their offices, or from their offices to lunch places and things like that, as opposed to doing it for fun.
It's more for fun.
Oh, it's more for fun.
Yes,
Well, then that's not multimodal.
Well, it is. It has possibilities, overlapping possibilities, of course. First mile, last mile from your transit centers to work or schools and such, but also the beach community places, Miami Beach, have them, and they're a very big draw for the tourists there too. So there's a lot of overlap on use, but that's part of the regulations. It's not just serve one. If we allow them, we should make sure that they're serving all the needs of the community and not just one group or another, unless that's the direction that, especially during a pilot program. But if we do allow them, there are opportunities to have them be useful in a number of different ways to different people.
Okay. Any other questions, council, before we open it
Yeah,
up?
follow-up question. I
Sure.
mean, the way you stated that, Mayor, I thought the legislator gave municipalities an opt-out provision. Now, the way the mayor just read that, it's going to be automatic sidewalks and roadways unless we create regulations to the contrary.
Or we prohibit.
Or prohibit.
Yeah.
So we can, okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Condon?
If we pass this, does it mean that those residents who have these vehicles already are prohibited by us to use them?
If someone has private ownership of this type of motorized scooter that meets the micromobility definitions in the state legislation, yes, they would not be allowed to use them at this time. As I understand, the moratorium is on use of these specific types of vehicles.
I have a neighbor who has an electric bicycle. Would this fall into that category?
No, it does not.
All right.
I'm confused by the answer of the question. This just pertains to businesses. It doesn't pertain to my private scooter.
The use, or
It pertains to the operators, and it pertains to the use. They're two different things we're trying to place a moratorium on, because the state legislation allows their use in all places that a bicycle is allowed to be used.
Which is new.
Yes.
I guess
So
we need
this
to
would-
know what micro-mobility device is.
It's
That's
anything with
defined.
3 wheels or less that has a maximum speed of 20 miles an hour or less. And then it has some rules regarding if a seat's more than 23 inches above grade. And
So would affect the motorized bike, privately owned motorized bicycle?
no, what pedal-assisted bicycles are defined under state statute as bicycles.
Okay.
Yeah, so pedal-assisted motorized bicycles are considered bicycles, and they are not part of the moratorium.
What about these, I see these people riding these,
Segways.
yeah, but it's not a Segway, it's just wheels, so they just.
Yeah, hoverboards, motorized hoverboards.
Is that what it is? I mean, it looks like a
Yes.
Segway without the.
It's like a motorized unicycle.
Yes, it's one wheel, and you're on both sides, and you're moving
Is
forward.
that one of those devices?
Right, and you see motorized skateboards. In this instance, this is only related to the electronic or motorized scooters.
Okay.
Okay.
Not the
Segways.
not those.
Right, the issue is we don't expect a company to drop off 700
Right.
hoverboards and say, go crazy. You know.
Okay.
Segways have their own statute.
Right, they're
I
called,
seem
yeah.
to recall that.
question?
Yeah, that's very interesting. It's trademarked in the statute, no less.
Mr.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
the language says motorized scooters and micro-mobility devices. So it's more than just scooters, is it not?
It is, but the device, that vehicle you're talking about, though, is exempted. It's not considered a micromobility device. These other devices are other devices that are micromobility. We don't want them being used in the streets and such. So anything that is treated, a scooter is being treated with the same rights and responsibilities as a typical bicycle. That is what we're trying to prohibit temporarily.
Okay, council, let me ease our minds. Section 1, for the purposes of this temporary moratorium, a micromobility device shall be defined only as a motorized scooter which is made available for private use by reservation through an online application, website, or software for point-to-point trips and which is not capable of traveling at a speed greater than 20 miles per hour on level ground.
Okay.
So that limits what we're talking about. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Everybody comfortable? More comfortable now? Okay. Anybody from the public to speak to agenda item 10.1?
Yes.
Make sure you have a card that's filled out and give us your name, please, and you would have 3 minutes to
All right.
speak.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Eric Elin. I live on Drew Street in Clearwater. I'd like to thank the mayor, the city council, and the rest of the city members for allowing me to speak tonight. I would also like to thank Mr. Rick Hartman, the senior transportation planner with the city's planning and development division, for meeting with me about the agenda item I will be speaking about tonight. I am currently a student at St. Petersburg College in the Public Policy and Administration Baccalaureate program and will be graduating in fall, so I'm very excited. The agenda I would like to comment on is ordinance number 929619, which will establish and impose a temporary moratorium for the hire or operation of motorized scooters and micromobility devices. I believe this is a smart move by the city to develop regulations for the uses of these devices. Just like bicycles, scooters have similar safety issues, and rules, regulations, and laws need to be in place to make the roads, trails, or sidewalks safe for all the riders and the citizens of Clearwater. Establishing these regulations for riders or businesses possibly renting scooters out is a clear route to safety and awareness for all. As many of you know, Florida is often rated as one of the most dangerous states for bicyclists, and enforcing new safety regulations pertaining to motorized scooters would be one step closer to improving those statistics for the state of Florida and the Tampa Bay metropolitan area. With Florida's year-round mild weather, bicyclists and future motorized scooter riders have ample time to ride for leisure. The city of Clearwater is also a top travel destination for many travelers from the United States and the world. So these regulations would be a positive net for increased tourist dollars for both local businesses and the city overall. With Bill 453 through the Florida legislature regarding motorized scooters, it is crucial that the city enact their own rules and regulations within the city limits. The city of Tampa has also recently begun their own regulations on motorized scooters, and it will likely draw in more tourists, tourism dollars, and one more added activity for Floridians. Traffic codes will need to be reviewed and enacted for where the scooters can be used, as in sidewalks, streets, trails, particularly with which parts of the city can be used, say Clearwater Beach, downtown, the Causeway. The scooters could possibly draw in more visitors to the downtown area, which is currently drastically changing for the benefit of citizens, and create more income for businesses, possibly creating more jobs and provide more entertainment for the downtown area. I would recommend a pilot program to test the viability of motorized scooters in a small area of the city with restrictions and with information this will give you more information for solid evidence that could be proposed for the council for passing this ordinance. And I could go on much longer, but my time is up.
Yes, sir, it is.
And thank you once
Thank you.
again.
And tell Professor Crunchnagle we all said hello.
Yeah.
Anybody else from the public wishing to speak to agenda item 10.1? Motion?
Motion to pass agenda item 10.1.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve agenda item 10.1. Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Ms. Aiken.
Ordinance number 9296-19, an ordinance of the City of Clearwater, Florida, declaring, establishing, and imposing a temporary moratorium on the offering for hire or operation of motorized scooters and micro-mobility devices, or issuance of any permits or franchises pertaining to micro-mobility hubs for a period of 180 days, in order to allow an opportunity for the city to develop regulations for such uses in the city rights-of-way, providing an effective date.
Move to pass ordinance 9296-19 on first reading.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to pass ordinance 9269-19 on first reading. Comments, council? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Horn, do you have anything further for us?
Mayor, I do not.
Ms. Aiken?
No, sir.
Council members? Mr. Hamilton?
I guess, look, my time is up. Thanks, Nicole. Now, as we sit here tonight, I think going into tomorrow, as we've all seen on the news, being the 75th anniversary of D-Day, it is, even for my generation, for the age, my age, it's hard to comprehend what those young men experienced. And, for my grandchildren, it'll be even harder for them to comprehend. But, my respect and my admiration for anyone who serves this country, and especially for the people in those, at that time of the world, deserve all the respect they can ever receive, and I'd like to thank them for that. Thank you.
Mr. Albritton?
I'd like to mirror that comment. It's something that we should never forget, and I want to thank all the people from that generation. A lot of people didn't, when they came back, they didn't really talk about it, so it wasn't really passed along. But that's why history is important, so it doesn't repeat itself. But again, that's all I have to say.
Mr. Poblaze?
Thank you, Mayor. So just to echo those comments, I would only say that if you haven't been to a national cemetery and you want to get the feeling and put it in perspective, go to Bushnell. That's the closest one. And if you go on Flag Day, or if you just go to look at all the white crosses, and those are veterans that didn't all necessarily participate in D-Day, but who did in fact die to give us the freedoms that we enjoy in this country. So my gratitude as well. Thank you.
Mr. Kundo?
I'd like to talk about something else, if it's all right. Most of you know my love and respect for the military, but our cemeteries today are getting filled with pedestrians, from bicycle riders, with motorcycle riders, with automobile drivers who aren't being careful. And I'm on the county school transportation safety committee, and this morning I learned, actually I'd heard it a few months ago, a year or so ago, the state counted on one day the number of drivers who passed school buses without stopping when they're supposed to stop. I don't know if anybody could guess that number, but it was close to 10,000 people on that day disobeyed the law and went right past the school bus when it was stopped with the stop sign out. A second illustration, I was coming from an event that I was at before the meeting tonight, and coming down Drew, and there's a bad accident there, and but before I got to that, I was up between Keene and Highland, and there's a new traffic safety mileage thing, how fast are you going? I looked, I was going 45 miles an hour, which was the speed limit. The guy next to me, well, he wasn't next to me, but by the time I got to the sign, that number had changed to 54 in a 45 mile an hour zone. And that is just not safe. Not just illegal, but it's not safe. The fella could never stop in time in an emergency. And I beg all of you, obey the traffic laws. That's why they're there, to save lives. Thank you.
Well, Council, I appreciate your comments and Mr. Cundiff on the transportation issues and speed, driving safely, but my colleagues who brought up D-Day, I was blessed to have been there for the 50th anniversary. And you're right, seeing those crosses is especially moving. But then going into the bunkers and seeing Omaha Beach and seeing how the Germans had their guns already lined up and how we did that, we really don't realize how blessed we are. So thanks to all of you for mentioning that. Coincidentally, I'm leaving tomorrow, and I'm real proud of this. I'm going to I can't even say Steph Curry's alma mater, because even though he attended Davidson, he dropped out after his junior year to sign a contract with the Golden State Warriors. But he and I did go to the same school, and we're getting ready we're going to have our 50th reunion this weekend, so I'm going to be at Davidson. Was going through my yearbook, Council, and I'm embarrassed to say I didn't recognize half of the 250 classmates of mine. We've changed an awful lot in that time, so it will be fun to be able to be a Wildcat and do that again. Want to remind everybody that tomorrow there will be a community discussion on waste reduction at the MLK Neighborhood Center. I believe it starts at 6 o'clock in the evening. Obviously, throughout the summer, there are movies at Sunsets Pier 60. There are all kinds of activities at our libraries, and especially our summer camp programs have gotten started at our rec centers, and I know they are going. Some of them are already at capacity, so encourage you to consider another alternative if the rec center that you want is full. On Friday, June the 14th, is the Taste of Downtown Clearwater at Station Square Park. For $10, you'll be able to enjoy samples from downtown restaurants and win door prizes. A reminder that hurricane season has started, and the sales tax holiday for you to purchase items for disaster preparedness is going on through June the 6th, so we would encourage you to take advantage of that. Our next meeting is going to be on work session on June the 17th, and our next council meeting will be on June the 20th. Thank you for your attention this evening and giving us part of that evening. We are adjourned.
Sweet, good job, Mayor.
George,
Sure.
Mary Helen was talking to her mom last night, and it was the first time she learned that